Happy Friday. Welcome to the latest episode of Mystery Ghost Stories. Last week, we had a little intriguing episode. This week, I hope we have another one. If you remember what I said, last week's episode was on, and if you can see the description, then you would know that tonight's episode is on the Lizzie Borden bed and breakfast. Now, full disclosure, I did a Mystery Unsolved episode on Lizzie Borden. So I want to try to avoid getting into the details of, obviously, I'm going to give you a description and we need details on why the Lizzie Borden bed and breakfast is haunted. But I want to try to avoid getting into the case because that's in another episode. I've already done that. We want to see if there's certain people that were killed that are still haunting the house that once was Lizzie Borden's house that is now actually a bed and breakfast. So without further ado, Mystery Ghost Stories, the Lizzie Borden bed and breakfast. And of course, because this is a ghost story series and not Mystery Unsolved, I don't particularly have my usual sites that I go to, but we'll go to the most obvious one here. Let's go to LizzieBorden.com because if we're going to hear it from any source, it might as well be the direct one, right? Welcome to the location of America's greatest unsolved murder mystery, which took place on August 4th, 1892. The Lizzie Borden house, which the, means many things to many people, from a historic gem to the most haunted house in the United States. Is it, though? That's not even why I did it, because I know it's haunted, not because supposedly it's one of the most haunted houses in the United States. Is it? Today, the property remains open daily from 10 a.m. to midnight, operating as an inn with breakfast, as well as a museum featuring a variety of tours and experiences throughout the day and evening, including historic house tours, and ghost hunts. Each experience is uniquely special and appeals to the historian, true crime fanatic, and ghost hunter in all of us. The Lizzie Borden House regularly hosts special and uniquely fantastical events that are not to be missed, including reenactments, photo ops, and haunted story times. So, if you've picked up on what I've picked up, it sounds like an absolute cash grab. They've used a brutal murder that took place in 1892 today. They've used it today as a cash grab, which is kind of sick and disturbing and just morally wrong, if I'm going to be honest. Like, two people were brutally murdered in this house. And here we are in 2026, like, hey, this is the place where two people lost their lives. Want to take a photo on the couch where Mr. Borden got hacked to death? Want to look at the carpet that Mrs. Borden died on? Want to go for a ghost hunt and see if we can hear them, both of them still here? I mean, I get the appeal. That's why I'm doing a video on it, because I want to know how haunted the place is. But I can't excuse the fact that it just seems morally wrong to me that they're profiting off of this. Also, I've seen the same photo of Mr. Borden with his head hacked, laying on the chair, almost as much as I've seen the photo of Bigfoot. And this isn't a photo that you'd want to see every day. I don't know if you can see it, but yeah, that's Mr. Borden, hunched over, dead because he got an axe in his head. Mrs. Borden, which was Lizzie's stepmother, Okay, I don't think the site's going to show anything or tell anything. I mean, it showed something, but I don't think it's gonna tell us about ghosts. So basically, in 1892, Lizzie Borden's father and stepmother were brutally murdered inside the house. Lizzie was not home at the time. The only people that were home were the maid, I believe. Um, Again, okay, let's go to a different site here. So basically, what happened was her father and stepfather were murdered, and when she came home, she found that her father had been murdered. So called the maid in. They called authorities. But actually, I don't even know if they called authorities. They then decided to check on the stepmother because supposedly they didn't know that she had come home because she had gone out to run errands. And when they came back, they went up the stairs and they found the stepmother on the floor of the carpet, dead. Of course, the only person to account for these murders was Lizzie. So she was, of course, accused and ultimately found not guilty because there wasn't enough evidence and a lot of stuff just didn't add up. Some stuff did add up, some stuff didn't, but ultimately she was found not guilty. She then went on to live a very secluded life, if I remember correctly. And the only other suspect was John Morse, who was Lizzie's uncle, I believe, who was staying with them from because he lived in another city or another state. Um, Basically, in a nutshell, he gave an alibi, but the alibi didn't really check out. And some people suggest that the whole reason that the Bordens were killed was because of the will that was left. Obviously, Lizzie and Abby, which is Lizzie's sister, would have benefited from the money. But technically, even after they died, Lizzie didn't exactly go about spending luxuriously to the will. Whereas some people think that John Morse, who probably wasn't really all that connected to, if at all, into the will, had more of a motive to kill than Lizzie did. But again, you can find all of that on my mystery. You can find that all online. But if you want my take on it, Mystery Unsolved, the Lizzie Borden case, murders. But we need some ghost stories, damn it. All right, let's see what we got here. Why is the Lizzie Borden house haunted? Lizzie, okay, we already know that. 32-year-old Lizzie Borden murdered her 64-year-old stepmother and 69-year-old father with a hatchet on the morning of August 4th, 1892. Supposedly. You can't just put that in there. She was found not guilty. So, I know, Justin, so was OJ, but, their spirits, some say, along with Lizzie's and two children, were previously murdered next door by another Borden in 1848. What? Their spirits, some say, along with Lizzie's and two children who were previously murdered next door by another Borden in 1840. What? I've never heard of this. So I get why Lizzie's spirit would haunt the place because if she did commit the murders, she probably feels guilty. Also, this is the place she lived half her life. She killed when she was like 32 and she still lived with her mom and dad. So I can see that. The two other children, though, were murdered by another. What? Maybe we'll have to dig into the history of this. When Andrew Borden, Lizzie's father, bought the home on 2nd Street in 1872. He was a self made, well to do man within the Fall River community. The Bordens came from a long line of wealth, but Andrew's father was seemingly the only one in 8 generations to squander it all away. This created an unmatched determination in young Andrew, and he went into the carpentry business. Eventually, he started a casket company with his first wife, Lizzie, and Emma's mother. Oh, excuse me, I think Abby was the stepmother. He went into the business with his first wife's brother, John Morse. Okay, there we go, the uncle. From here, he expanded to his own. Okay, we don't need to hear about his history. Many people believe that his attitude on many believe his attitude on life dedicated. Many believe his attitude on life dictated his eventual downfall at the hands of his daughter. Andrew's second wife, Abby, okay, entered the picture in 1865, 2 years after his first wife, Sarah's death. The Civil War, that was the year the Civil War ended, I believe. Lizzie grew to resent both her father and stepmother for varying reasons. She was 32 at the time of the murders, and her oldest sister, Emma, was 41. 41 and she still lived with her parents? Jesus. They were both spinsters, unmarried women living alone or with family. I literally just said that, yeah. Lizzie was never known as an attractive woman, with the word homely being used to describe her quite often. There's usually only one photo they ever show of Lizzie Borden, which is like the proper, her like showing her, the complexion of her face. She was an unhappy woman due to the social standards of the time and her oppressive father's policy on his wealth and family life. Any suitors within her social class did not see her as acceptable, and any suitor below her social class was disapproved of by her father and chased away. He saw them as treasure hunters after his massive wealth. So, one of the things to note in the 1800s was that if you were a rich man and you had daughters, there was a good chance that, a nice young fellow would come along and be like, I wish to marry one of your daughters. And this wasn't because he found the girl attractive, or even liked her, or even wanted to talk to her, to get to know her. He probably just wanted to marry her because he wanted to get in on the family inheritance. That is an absolute fact. A wealth he withheld from Lizzie, leaving her sad, alone, frustrated, and most of all jealous of her stepmother Abby's position to inherit said wealth. Oh, so Abby wasn't. Oh, okay. Despite this, Lizzie was known as an upstanding, good Christian woman, an active member of her long local congregation and social debutante. There's a photo here. I don't know who it's of. I don't think it's Lizzie. It looks AI. Well, you can just look at it. If that's Lizzie, I mean, I wouldn't say that's homely. It's a little more frightening than anything. The fiasco began when neighbors heard. We already know what happened. I don't. I'm not going to talk about what happened. If you want to know what happened, go watch Mystery Unsolved. We're not doing that. I'm 14 minutes in. I got to touch this up at least next 10 to 15 minutes here. We already know all this. I want to know if the place is haunted. Now, true crime addicts and spirit seekers come far and wide to the little town of Fall River to see the gruesome murder scene for themselves. The Lizzie Borden house is haunted by the spirits of the Borden family. Andrew Borden appears particularly restless, with tour guides claiming he has punched them in the back. Jeez, okay. If you sleep in his room, it is said that a monetary gift is to be left out in tribute to him. Like anything? I mean, like, here, sir. Here, Mr. Borden. Here's a key. Here's a piece of lint from my pocket. It keeps his money hungry spirit at bay and ensures the weary traveler a good night's sleep. Here, Mr. Borden, here is a paper clip from a piece of paper that I had. Here, Mr. Borden, here's a piece of gum that I stopped chewing hours ago. Like, what are we giving this man? Will he take anything? Here, Mr. Borden, here's a band aid that I just happened to find. Like, maybe the tour guides would tell you, like, oh, what are we supposed to leave? Like, you leave cookies and milk out for Santa. Like, what do we leave out for Mr. Borden so he doesn't attack us in the night? Ah, yes, that is right. You can spend the night at the infamous Lizzie Borden house. In addition, it has also been renovated to include all the modern amenities not found in Victorian times, all while keeping the era's decor intact. Andrew is not the only one to remain behind in the home. Many say Lizzie still haunts the ground. There have been reports of children laughing, supposedly the two who were murdered next door in 1848. And that's all they say about it. Can I know about that story? Ah, that's crazy. That is crazy. Like, not only was there one murder in that house, not only were two people murdered in that house, but apparently two children were murdered next door. Like, that's crazy. The fire alarm go- goes off once every couple of months, always at 3 a.m. Faulty smoke detectors. That's all they are. Apparitions are often caught on camera, and ghostly faces appear in the basement. Do we have proof? Can we see photos of these? Are they going to be on this website? If I click on these links, will they bring me to them? I want facts. And that's all they have because it's a flippin' cash grab. God, they get off on this. I can't believe that. Like, this is the stuff you might see. Like, there's many reported photos. Okay, then let's see them on here. Lizzie Borden's ghost stood behind me, and I lived to tell this tale. All right, now we're freaking talking. Here we go. All right, this is a woman named Chantel. Back in August 17, 2022 was when she made this article. Although I'm getting a lot of pop-ups, so I might not be able to read this. So. I spent the day touring the Borden house, learning about the history and where the horrible events occurred. Of course, some work has been done to the house by the owners to try to keep the aesthetic as close to the original Borden house. The tour took me throughout the house. I was able to see the living room, where Mr. Borden had passed, the kitchen, and the upstairs, including the bedroom where Mrs. Borden was murdered. Of course, I had to be the strange person in the tour group and lay down on the sofa, it's a new one, where Mr. Borden was whacked, to recreate the scene for my own personal photo. And she does. That's really good though. Like, that's exactly how he was. Unfortunately, I was unable to see the basement since they saved that for ghost tours at night. Granted, that was the only part of the house that I missed. The tour was still amazing. I know I said I saw Lizzie's ghost, so where's that information? It's coming, I promise. After the tour, I decided that I wanted to see more and find out that the Bordens are buried not too far from the house, so I went on another adventure. Now, if you don't know what Lizzie Borden looked like, all you need to know from the story is that she mostly wore a tight bun on her head. I know that it is frowned upon to lay on someone's grave. However, I was young and, like I admitted, strange, and I chose to take yet another picture, laying on Lizzie's grave. After getting up on Lizzie Borden's grave, After getting up from the grave, my mother and I were standing with two people that also chose to follow us from the tour to the cemetery, which makes four of us standing there talking. I remember looking down at the grass and I saw five shadows. Now, if my math is correct, that's one more than four. There was a shadow standing behind me, with their hair in a tight bun. Of course, I quickly turned around and no one was standing there, but the shadow remained. Now I know I said I don't believe that. Now I know I said that I don't believe that Lizzie was the one that murdered her parents. However, I was not sticking around after seeing that, and I quickly went into the car. All in all, the only thing I can tell you is do not disrupt or taunt anyone that has passed, especially if they were a suspect in a double homicide. Will I be going back to the Borden house? The answer is yes. I would love to explore more, especially since I had this experience. That's such crap. I thought she took a picture of it. I thought they were taking a picture by the grave and they saw the. That would have been good. That would have been excellent, right? Okay. And I'm stuck on this website. Jesus. Sorry, I'm just trying to get the page back because I lost it. All right. We're gonna skip Reddit if I can. All right, here we go. Over the year. All right, this article was by Amy Bruni. That's the one from Ghost. She used to be on the Ghost Hunters. The redhead. Because I live in the area, I go to investigate the house often. Over the last 10 or so years, I've been there to investigate probably a dozen times, both with small groups and to film TV episodes. In season 3 of Kindred, that's the episode of her with the series with her and that guy Andrew, I think his name is. We investigated the Lizzie Borden house because of one of the guides, Sue, felt as though she was being specifically targeted with a different kind of activity. We made contact with who we believe is Andrew Borden, but we found that the activity we were investigating was really coming from Sue's grandparents, who were trying to send her a message that they were waiting for her ailing father when he was ready to move on. He passed away just days after we investigated the home. I hope knowing his parents were waiting for him made Sue's pain a little more unbearable. Over the years, I've witnessed a lot of paranormal activity in the home where the murders took place. It's a great spot to bring people who are just learning to investigate because something almost always happens there. The more I investigate the Borden house, the more I realize that even though there is strong activity, none of the activity is interacting with me. My guess is that what's occurring in the house is highly residual harm, where there is a lot of energy in the space, but that's not necessarily from active ghosts. I think the supernatural energy is increased by people coming into the house, knowing about the murders and the legends about Lizzie, and all their own speculations and hope to Uki. There are artifacts and newspaper clippings all over in the home and the gift shop. The energy of the Borden house is fed often and fed well by one of the most notorious true crime cases in American history. In all the times I've been to that home, I've never spoken to Lizzie Borden, but on season 4 of Kindred, Adam, that's his name. Adam and I were finally able to investigate. The woman who owns the Lizzie Borden house purchased Maplecroft and was preparing to open the building to the public. The previous owners had told her it wasn't haunted, but once she had her employees spend time there, they started witnessing a lot of activity. They would hear loud footsteps, the disembodied voice of a woman, and laughter at strange times. Before we started investigating, we brought Chip Kofi in to get his impressions of the home. so he wouldn't see where he was or get any clues that might influence his reading. We brought him in blindfolded. He was picking up the spirit of a woman who was getting increasingly angry. You all think you know everything, he said. He reported her saying, You know nothing about me. She's screaming, Don't help me, Chip added, then repeated more of her words. You got him blindfolded. You think you're smart? I don't care what you think. I have to look, right? I won't crack. I'm sorry. As part of our research, we spoke with historian Christopher Daly about Lizzie. It's America's Jack the Ripper case, and people are going to be talking about it forever. Christopher went on to explain why Lizzie chose to remain in Fall River, where almost the entire town had turned on her, suspecting her of murdering her parents, even though she had been acquitted of the crime. He also told us a key piece of information. After the trial, Lizzie adopted a new name, Lisbeth, that was on her gravestone. Her birth name was Liz. That night, we had gotten an EVP response of the name Lizzie Borden. We really thought we might have been talking to her, but besides that one answer, she hadn't said much of anything. From what Chip indicated, she did not care to speak more. Adam suggested approaching that night's investigation in a different way, by removing all the things in the home that discuss murder in any way. We need to make sure we need to make her comfortable if we're going to get to any answers. We need to make her feel like it's her home. We made sure to speak to her using the name she chose to go by, as a sign of respect. We reassured her that we only had good intentions and didn't want to exploit her or sensationalize her past. Ha! Yet the very place that you're in has done exactly that. So, bullshit much? Then we set up a spirit box experiment designed to make Lisbeth feel as comfortable as possible. Okay, can you tell me your name, Lisbeth? Apparently, this is what happens on the spirit box. You're going to have a lot of people coming in here try to talk to you, and most of those people are going to try to talk to you about directly. Yes, they are going to try to talk to you directly. I'm lost. The people that own this house now also own the house. Don't say anything. It's not me. People are going to ask you about what happened on 2nd Street. We're trying to warn you and let you know to see if that's okay with you. Please talk to them. Are you there? So you're saying it's okay for people to come talk to you about your past? Come back. What would you like to talk about? I felt someone walk through this room, but no one was there. Do you miss someone, Lisbeth, from your past? You get used to it. I'm upset. What are you upset about? Stop. Stop it. Alone. I tried. We just had a full conversation with the ghost of Lisbeth Borden, maybe for the first time ever. I was hearing full sentences, which almost never happens with ghost replies in EVP sessions or spirit box experiments. It was hard to hear, though. She seemed so conflicted and lonely. I think the only reason that Lisbeth chose to speak to us is that we broke the ice with her and treated her with kindness, even though we were looking for one of the most sought after spirits of all time, who may or may not be a murderer. We don't know for sure. Okay, again, not a lot to go off of here, but I think I've come to expect that with these episodes that I do. I'm looking for the nitty gritty, the good stuff, the hauntings, but apparently it needs to be a Civil War battlefield or a ghost ship in order to have some real good stuff. What do we think? Do you think the Lizzie Borden bed and breakfast is haunted? Do you think it's haunted by Lizzie Borden herself, her father Andrew, her step her stepmother Abby? I'm a little skeptical, I'm not gonna lie. I believe in ghosts, but when it comes to the Lizzie Borden bed and breakfast, I think because such gruesome murders took place there, that we just naturally assume that ghosts are going to haunt the place. And I think that over the years, since the murders back in 1892 up until now, I think people just keep feeding the machine. They keep feeding it and feeding it and feeding it. So there might not be any real hauntings at all. It might just all be speculation and hoopla to get people to come in just for the cash grab. Now, the last thing that I read, Amy Bruni, I think she's a crock of crap. Sorry if you watch this, Amy. I watched Ghost Hunters for years, and I used to believe in it until I watched later until I read later articles about it, and yeah, most of the people that were on that show, crocs. But anywho, do I think the Lizzie Borden bed and breakfast is haunted? I don't know. I cannot definitively say. I would definitely need to go myself, which I could probably do. I just don't want to go by myself in the event that it actually really is haunted. Um, Maybe someday. But yeah, I cannot definitively say whether or not I think it's haunted. Apparently, there's probably a lot of good stories on it, but you probably have to ask the people that have gone there. You would probably have to ask the people that have gone there. Wow, it didn't come off my lips that well. Because we didn't really get all that. We didn't get that amount of. Sorry about that. We didn't get a good amount of stuff. I can't talk. It's time that I end this. Wow. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. You never do. Subscribe. You never do. It's fine. Stay tuned for the next episode of Mystery Ghost Stories, where I will be discussing. Justin, you need to have this ready to go already. Join me next week as I will be discussing Savannah, Georgia. Now things are about to get interesting. For Mystery Ghost Stories,